Welcome, everybody. My name is Nick Fire,
I'm Mark the Truth.
and this is the FireTruth Nerdcast. And this week, we're going to get deep in there, as deep as we possibly can get. In this deep dive of Deadpool and Wolverine, the biggest blockbuster movie of 2024. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great film. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's been my favorite Marvel movie in years, and there's a lot of reasons for that. And I love the fact that it's a love letter to the Fox universe that I grew up with as a kid.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was the better of the three Deadpool movies. And going off of it being a love letter to Fox, I feel like it was a love letter to the first movie because there's a lot of the same layout of the story, which we'll get into. And I think it was everything everyone was wanting as far as the hype. Like, it didn't disappoint. Like, you got everything that you were hoping and thinking was going to happen.
Yeah, I couldn't see how anybody would think differently about that. This movie gave
There are
everything
some
and
people.
more than I wanted.
Yeah, there are some people that didn't like it.
Well, they're fucking stupid.
Well, they're also
So-
dumb because they brought their little children to see a rated R movie.
Yeah, that's been happening a lot. I mean, that happened I think every time a Deadpool movie came out, that's been the story.
But what are you doing? Your 5-year-old shouldn't see Deadpool. And if you saw the
either
first
some
two,
people don't care or other people just think it's a superhero movie.
but it's, I don't know.
People,
I can see that if you didn't see the first two, but if you saw the first two, maybe you should have been like, okay, yeah, let's just go see this separate. Don't bring the kids.
If I saw this movie, this is one of the bloodiest movies I've ever seen. If I saw this as an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old, I probably would have been traumatized.
Oh yeah, that would set you down a path that no kid wants to be on.
But who knows? Maybe with more kids than ever, just playing all these violent games and all, just seeing it all over the internet.
This
maybe
is
they're just
nothing for them.
desensitized.
Yeah.
Compared to us who are probably a little more sheltered growing up. But either way, movie was a blast. I loved it. But before we really deep dive and get into everything, Mark, how was your adventure getting there to the theater on your date with Jenny? And
it was good.
How was your week?
The week so far has been good. We went to Lake Geneva with her mom and her brother before he left. Not much you can do with a 5-month-old there, so we just kind of walked around and shopped. But Tuesday we went to Cooper's Hawk for lunch, which, if you're not familiar to this area, it's like a wine bar restaurant. And then we went down the street to a matinee to see Deadpool, and let me tell you, a matinee is definitely the way to go. It was $14 for 2 tickets as opposed to $30. Still spent $50 at concessions, but that's a different story.
Go see a movie, it's $100 at least.
Yeah,
these
exactly.
days.
What about you?
Well, I have AMC stubs, so I don't need the matinee, but
Yeah,
I still, I just think $25 a month, you save a lot of money even if you go see 2 movies. As long as you see 2.
We plan to do it. We're just going to wait till she's a little bit older and she can go see movies, because then we'll really get the best bang for our buck from it, because we'll go see kids' movies with her and then go see movies we want to see.
That's going to be fun. I can imagine, you probably can't wait for her to get a little bit older, to where you can actually start showing her things.
Yeah, showing her things that I like and seeing if she has interest in it. And then also what movies come out that she's like, Dad, I want to go see this movie this weekend. Can we go see this when it comes out? And it's Despicable Me 19 or some shit.
Minions 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it's obviously, being a baby, a newborn baby has a lot of, I'm sure the crying gets old, but all the other parts of it of just having this little thing to hold all the time is probably cool.
The crying, it doesn't get old. It gets frustrating sometimes, as anyone that is a parent knows, because it's you've changed them, you fed them, you burped them. What else what's going on? They can't tell you.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10 with her, it's she wants to either lay down or she wants to be held up like an adult.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's, as she gets older, it's going to be fun to see what she's into, and basically regrowing up with her, which these day and age, I don't know that I'd want to be a child. There's so many different things that are not good, but
oh yeah,
that's a different story.
Raising a kid in this time period is going to be horrifying.
Yeah,
I can only imagine if that day ever comes for me.
it will.
So let's get into our Deadpool Wolverine conversation. I just want to warn everybody because, again, people are fucking stupid. We're going to be talking spoilers here. So if you haven't seen the movie, please don't listen to this because,
No.
I mean, unless you don't care. If you don't care,
Yeah, if you don't
please
care about
do
spoilers.
listen to it. I don't want anybody clicking off, but I'm just saying that I don't want to be that guy who just starts going into things and doesn't warn anybody. You know, even though you're listening to this, you might be thinking we're not going to spoil things. We are. We're getting deep into this, as I said. So if you haven't seen it, go see it. What are you waiting for? Just go. And then come back to this and listen to it. So just go see it. It was a good film. Now, I want to talk about the background of this movie because there was a lot more information about how this movie came to be than I thought there would be. So as everybody knows, in 2017, Fox was planning, developing Deadpool 3, and it was actually something that's lesser known. They were working on an X-Force spinoff until Disney bought them. After the acquisition, Disney pretty much scrapped all of Fox's plans for Marvel because Kevin Feige didn't, he didn't want two universes existing at once. He wanted to integrate the X-Men and all that into the MCU somehow. And this is one of the first films to really do that. But every Fox film, like there was supposed to be an X-23 film, the X-Force, Deadpool 3, they were really, expanding after their successes of Deadpool and Logan and Deadpool 2. However, it all got scrapped. So maybe in an alternate dimension, there is a continuation of the Foxverse, but it isn't ours. So over the years, there was a lot of chatter, obviously, of Deadpool 3, simply because, now that Disney owns it, will it continue to be R-rated? Do you remember those chats?
Yeah. I mean, and that's an understandable question, too.
It was, because all of the MCU movies, I don't think there had been any R-rated ones at that point. Everything had been PG-13, and it's like everything kind of ties together. So do you bring in Deadpool the way he is? Do you bring him in PG-13? But obviously you can't do that because people would hate that.
Yeah, he would become a character no one cared about again.
I don't think you could recast him and try again because Ryan Reynolds is as much Deadpool as like Robert Downey is to Iron Man. So
yeah,
it's one of those things where they were in a strange position and there was a lot of chatter, but both Kevin Feige and Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, confirmed that they were interested in making R-rated MCU content. So it kind of alleviated everybody's concerns and woes. But since 2018, Ryan Reynolds has been pitching ideas for Deadpool 3, ranging from a road trip Rashomon style story from three perspectives, basically, with Wolverine. And even, I believe the actor who plays Dupinder said that the original idea for Deadpool 3 was that Deadpool and Wolverine and Dopinder would be going on some sort of road trip to save Christmas and go to the North Pole.
That just sounds... I mean, it sounds interesting with it being Deadpool, but that just doesn't make sense.
No, it kind of sounds stupid, honestly. I like the idea of Deadpool and Wolverine on a road trip. That idea always kind of intrigued me, but not this Christmas crap. No, that was kind of weird. But one thing was certain. Reynolds wanted Wolverine in Deadpool 3. Like, he kind of had been building the tension up from 1 and 2. He wanted him in 3. But it almost seemed impossible. It was for many years because Hugh Jackman retired in 2017 after Logan and basically said he didn't have any interest in coming back. So that basically led to the whole team that worked on Deadpool 3, like Ryan and the gang, just kind of going back to the drawing board many times. I read many times they went back to the drawing board because though they had a director, Reynolds and Levy, they had a difficult time figuring out what the story could be. And the entire production was almost put on hold, like completely, indefinitely a few years ago, because they could not figure out what to do with Deadpool 3 until our Lord and Savior, Hugh Jackman, gave Reynolds a phone call and said, hey,
Said, son of a bitch, I'm in.
Yeah, he said, hey, you know what? I just took a long drive. I thought about it. I want to come back. I want to come back in this and be a part of it because, as he stated, he thought it would be fun. He thought it'd be the funnest film he'd be a part of. And from the videos I've seen online of how happy Hugh Jackman
think it was.
Yeah, this movie was like probably the best thing he's ever done. So obviously the incorporation of Wolverine into Deadpool 3 was what they needed to get the creative juices flowing again. And shortly after, production on the film was announced through that YouTube video of Jackman and Reynolds confirming it a few years ago. Then the movie came out this last weekend, and all of a sudden, wow, that was a good idea. Hugh Jackman probably just made bank because it is now the biggest R-rated global film in history, opening of all time. 205 million in one weekend. That's ridiculous.
That's
it's
insane.
the eighth highest grossing film in history already. Like, this film is doing ridiculous numbers.
What with like the gross of a movie, when do they cut it off? Like after it's been out,
I want to say
like,
they cut it off once it stops playing in theaters.
Once it's out of theaters?
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure it was the biggest R-rated movie here, but it, from what I read, mainly like it was even globally, like all together, it was the biggest of all time. And then eighth in history, just for the weekend. I think I read earlier that they've already made like 500 million over the last few days.
Yeah, and that's just going to grow.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it hits $1 billion, if it's their next $1 billion movie for Marvel, which they're pretty used to doing, or they were at least.
They were for a while.
I mean, because this really, like, in my opinion, this is the biggest movie since Endgame.
Yeah.
Or I guess No Way Home, but this is like No Way Home, but for the Fox universe.
Yeah, pretty much. Because everything after that was kind of, it was there.
The other stuff, and honestly, this might be a controversial opinion, but even though I like No Way Home, I don't think it was like amazing.
It left more to be desired than it gave.
Like, I wanted to see more of Toby and Andrew than what we actually got in the movie.
Yeah.
It was more of a story about Tom, and even though that's cool, we just got 2 stories about Tom, you know? I was kind of more interested in seeing Toby and Andrew than Tom. But it was a good movie. It was, and it was awesome to see all the villains back and like new interpretations of like Jamie Foxx and stuff, but Electro. But I like this movie more than No Way Home. What about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna say yeah, and could say it's because I'm biased to Deadpool over Spider-Man now. But growing up with the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans, like, Tom Holland's cool. Like, he fits the role a lot better than Tobey did. But as far as like a movie goes, I think this was a lot better of a movie.
I think it's one of those things where imagine if this movie only had Hugh in it like half the time.
Yeah. Then it wouldn't have been as
good.
It wouldn't have been the movie it was.
And that's kind of how I felt about No Way Home. I feel like it didn't, like, Toby and Andrew didn't get involved till maybe like a little over halfway into the movie. So it kind of just left me feeling like wanting more from them.
Yeah.
This movie, I mean, he was in it from pretty much almost the start. So
I mean,
like
pretty much
at
from
least
the
the
start.
first quarter.
He was there in body from the start.
He was there in body. So let's get into that. The very beginning of the film was pretty jarring because right off the bat, you see Deadpool is digging up Logan's grave. I loved how, like, the very opening scene, he's saying, like, if you think we aren't going to desecrate the film of Logan in the ending, you're wrong. We are.
Yeah. I don't know what he expected to find when he dug up the grave.
Well, he said that, regenerative mutants don't die, but that was just him being frantic about knowing his universe was going to be destroyed. Yeah. So he digs up Logan's grave from the film Logan, which was hilarious because like you're literally taking one of the most iconic and heroic deaths in the history of Marvel and just, shitting all over it in a sense because he's just grave robbing it.
He's grave robbing his body.
And then he finds basically an adamantium skeleton and is like, oh shit, he really is dead.
Yeah.
And then this is where I think it was almost everybody's favorite scene of the movie when the TVA appear from Loki and they come to arrest Deadpool for his crimes against time because he's been using Cable's time machine or time traveling device to go around through the multiverse. And Wade starts slaughtering these TVA guys as he dances to Bye 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 from NSYNC.
Using Wolverine's body parts.
Using Wolverine's bones. What an awesome scene. I keep watching it on YouTube because it was just, I don't know. It made me love that song.
The fight scenes of it, I mean, granted, the TVA is what they are. Like, they're not going to overpower any superhero in Marvel. I don't think they want to write them that way. But the fight choreography plus the dance choreography was done very well.
It was amazing. Yeah, he was doing the NSYNC music video while he was killing them. That was one of my favorite scenes, like right off the bat. Right when that happened and Bye 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 started, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in for a treat here.
Yeah.
So obviously, as we just talked about, Deadpool kills, like literally brutally slaughters these guys. Like he's bashing their heads in, cutting them off, bashing their balls and stuff. Like he's destroying these guys. Absolutely. And there was like one TVA guy who kept talking shit and Deadpool just destroyed him. But we then, as all the Deadpool films have done, and I kind of like this, I like the flashback. I like how Ryan Reynolds has kept that in all three.
Yeah, he jumps like right to an action scene, and then he's like, all right, now that we're here, let me show you why I'm here and how we got here.
And it takes us to, right off the bat, one of the more interesting scenes of the film where Wade is literally sitting in Earth 616, which is the main MCU timeline universe. And he's talking to Happy Hogan and asking him if he can become an Avenger to prove his worth. I didn't expect that in this movie at all.
No. But I do like the scene because Happy basically tells him, like, I get where your head's at, but that's not what the Avengers are about. Like, you need to prove it first.
I want to know how Wade became such a fan of the Avengers. Like, just traveling through time, he just heard about them, or?
Probably. Well, and it's one of those things like he knows who everyone is because of the fourth wall and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those things like probably traveling. He's like, oh, wow, I could have been useful here. Could have been useful there. Why is he crying? That person's dead. Oh, shit, Iron Man's dead. Captain's old.
He had a thing for
like he probably went through everything and was like, oh, I want to be like them. They need help. Their other people are gone.
And that's the thing that I like about Deadpool is that even though he's batshit crazy, he still has like this pure good heart.
There's a very small part of his moral compass that still points the right way.
So him being an Avenger, he really wanted to be up there with Captain America and Iron Man and be remembered as this awesome hero. But instead, obviously, Happy declines him. So it then shows 6 years later, he's returned to the Foxverse and he's become an average Joe salesman with Peter.
Yep.
You called it. Peter returned.
Peter returned for a bigger role than I thought, too.
He did. He really did, because his entire role in the film was he wanted Wade to go back to being Deadpool.
He knew what his potential was as Deadpool.
He knew that he was a better Deadpool than a car salesman.
Yeah. And
he was a pretty bad car salesman.
He was very bad.
Horrible. So, Wade is kind of in a pocket of depression in this movie because we don't really know exactly what happened. They didn't get too deep into it, but apparently in this film, he's having problems with Vanessa and they've broken up. And I guess it's because she thinks he could be more than he is.
Yeah,
And
I
he
think everyone
doesn't
knows
see that.
he has. Yeah, I think everyone knows he has more potential than he's showing. Like he just gave up. So they're all like, "That's not the Wade that I know," and the Wade in her case that she grew to love.
But out of everything in the movie, I loved every single thing in this movie but that. I actually didn't really like how Wade and Vanessa's relationship just kind of it's been like a main part of Deadpool 1 and 2, and they loved each other because they were both batshit crazy.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because and it's also like he sacrificed himself twice to get you back, and then at his lowest point, you're gonna stop loving him.
Yeah, it felt out of place. Like it didn't feel correct to me with how much like we were just talking about in our Deadpool 1 and 2 podcast. Go check it out. That they had this deep and like really organic love, like one of the most organic chemistries and love on screen in the Marvel universe that I've ever seen. It kind of upset me that they were like having this weird, she's seeing someone else and he's just kind of at the birthday party just like, yeah, I'm okay,
Yeah, I
I'm
sell
happy.
cars, I'm good. Yeah,
that was weird. I didn't like that. I could understand the plot point of Deadpool wanting to stop being Deadpool so he could be with her more, and her being like, I love you, but you are Deadpool. You need to go do these things. I think that would have made more sense than it just being this. Like it just felt so like what did it add to the movie?
No, it was kind of, and then it was instantly resolved at the end of it.
Yeah. It was like, why didn't they just continue with them having a baby? That was what they were wanted to do in Deadpool 2. They were going to have a baby and then she died. Why didn't they have a baby? That would have been enough for Wade to want to stop being Deadpool and then fight harder to protect his family when the universe is at stake.
Yeah, or it could have been one of those things where she got sick of, people trying to kill her because he was Deadpool. Could have been that. We just didn't get the explanation of that.
Yeah, so they just didn't do a good job of explaining it if that was what it was. But I don't know. I just think like if he had a baby, this would have made so much more sense of why he would have been fighting so hard to protect his universe.
Yeah, because it's almost like once he had to fight for his universe, like, what are you fighting for?
Yeah,
like everyone's pretty much given up on you besides Peter.
Yeah, Peter's the only one.
It was all for Peter.
Like Colossus had nothing in this movie. He was just at the birthday party hanging out. Like it was strange. It was very odd.
I don't even think he was at the end scene either.
I think he was, but he didn't do anything. And that's always been, it's like they transferred the Colossus Deadpool story to Wade and Vanessa. It was strange. I didn't like that aspect of it at all, but luckily it was a very short and small and pointless portion of the film. So I just wanted to bring that up because I literally just said how much I love their relationship, and then right now, of course, they go and ruin that.
Yeah, instantly.
Literally instantly. That did annoy me. That was the only thing in the theater when I was watching it that I was like, ugh, come on. Anyways, let's get to the good stuff of this movie, because obviously Wade and his friends gather together to have a birthday party for him to help him probably with his depression and stuff. And all of a sudden he hears a knock on the door. He answers it, and it's the TVA. Now at this time, this is a flashback, so he doesn't know who the TVA are. Though he did have a funny little quip where he was talking about when they showed like the prune stick, and he was like, we're gonna have to go to the other room, we're gonna have to take this somewhere else.
Yeah, well then he's like, I'm not new to pegging, but Disney is.
This is why we love Deadpool. That was a great scene. And obviously he does get pruned. He gets pegged. And
per
he
se.
gets sent to whatever the realm is that's where the TVA exists. I don't think there is an official name for it. It's just the TVA. So he gets sent to that realm from Loki. So if you've seen Loki, you'll understand a lot of what's going on here. And this is where we get introduced to Mr. Paradox, basically one of the main villains of this film. He's the head of the Fox Universe's sector of the Sacred Timeline. So he's in charge of all of the timelines in this sector, and the Foxverse just so happens to fall in line here. And it explains that he explains to Deadpool that Logan, Wolverine, was the anchor being of his universe. And now that he's heroically died, the Foxverse is slowly deteriorating. It's going to disappear from reality in a few thousand years. But
he wants it gone.
He wants it gone now. Because Mr. Paradox is not like Mobius and some of the other, more noble TVA members. He deems Deadpool special and worthy of saving. So he offers Deadpool a job at his side. But that's when he reveals that instead of waiting thousands of years for the Foxverse to disappear, instead, I want to use this machine that I've come up with, the Time Ripper, to destroy dying timelines and help clean up the multiverse quicker to make the TVA more efficient. And then, as he says himself, in turn, making me the TVA. So basically, this guy's a bastard in the TVA.
Yeah, he's got little man syndrome in the TVA. He's like, I think it's one of those things. He's in charge of a timeline that no one cares about. So he's like, I'm going to make everyone care about me now.
So obviously, Deadpool ain't going for this because he loves his friends. Even though he's in this spot of depression, he doesn't want his entire universe to up and disappear because it's everybody he loves and cares about. So instead of becoming an Avenger and becoming this timeline, sacred keeping soul, he steals the Tempad, which is the device the TVA used to travel through different multiverses. And he wants to go find a new Wolverine because Deadpool thinks that by finding a new Wolverine, he can basically get a new anchor being in his timeline. And it's worth noting that Deadpool's pissed that Wolverine is the anchor being and not him.
Not him, yeah.
And before we forget, there was a scene that I'm sure will tie into either Doomsday or Secret Wars where Thor is holding Deadpool.
Yes,
and Deadpool's crying and Thor is crying.
We need to know why.
Mr. Paradox said that will happen later. So
yeah,
we're definitely going to see that.
Yeah, he said that hasn't happened yet.
We're definitely going to see that, and I can't wait to see the context of it. Those are not characters I would have thought of putting together. So
no. Well, even Chris Hemsworth, I saw in an interview, he's like, I didn't know I was in the movie. And technically he's not because it's a scene from a different movie that they just added Deadpool into instead of whoever he was holding.
Interesting. I'll be curious to see how and where they bring that into the fold again. That was a nice little Easter egg.
Yeah.
But so Deadpool goes traveling through time or different multiverses, and he's looking for a new Wolverine. He finds Short King Wolverine, which
the
I
comic
was
book accurate
busting out laughing in my seat because that was fucking hilarious. Just this short, 5-foot Wolverine.
Well, that's the comic book accurate height.
It is, I know. Short King Wolverine. Then he goes and finds Weapon X, which was cool to see Hugh Jackman as the Weapon X, apocalyptic version of Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of little cameos. There was Patch Wolverine from the comics. And then we got to our first real big cameo in the film, the Calverine. What'd you think about that, Mark?
Oh, I thought it was fun. I mean, I knew it was going to happen. I knew we were getting him as a Wolverine, but to see him as that Wolverine and then basically just be like, yeah, no, fuck you. and just gets rid of them.
If you don't know what the Calverine is, it's Henry Cavill, the guy who played Superman in the Snyderverse films and plays Geralt the Witcher, or did play Geralt the Witcher in the Netflix show. He shows up in this film and is playing a variant of Wolverine, a very buff variant of Wolverine, by the way. This dude made Hugh Jackman look like a bitch. And yeah, he beats the hell out of Wolverine. Basically, Deadpool just keeps getting the hell beat out of him by
different versions of Wolverine.
And it was hilarious. Like, every version of Wolverine was just killing him, beating him up, sending him away, until he finds a specific one. The drunken bum Wolverine that failed his universe and got all of the X-Men killed. Of course, this is the Wolverine that is the main character of this film. How did you like Wolverine as a whole in this movie?
I thought it was great. I liked how at the beginning, when we first get introduced to him, like, yeah, he's a drunk and a bum, but at first he's not really, embracing the type of character he can be in this kind of movie. And as the movie continues, like, you start to see him break out and become the version of Wolverine you'd want to see in a Deadpool movie. Like, it was a slow build to him finally being like, all right, I can say fuck you and, just decapitate people and not get in trouble.
I loved it. I loved this version of Wolverine, taking him being like a failure and having him become a hero later in the end. It was nice to have some sort of a character arc in this movie. And this is going to, I would assume, be the Wolverine for the MCU.
Yes.
So, like, they did a great job of building him up to be in Doomsday and Secret Wars later on. And I liked that he was a variant because it gave us a chance to make a new Wolverine while still allowing it to be Hugh Jackman and not disgracing actually the legacy of Logan. Even though Deadpool dug up his grave, that was more for fun. The real story of Logan still counts, though, in the scheme of the entire Marvel universe.
Right, because he didn't go back in time to before he was dead and take that one. He took a completely different one, which now we've seen how that would work if they were to go to a different timeline and take someone. One, it has to be from a timeline where it's not going to affect anything, which I think it's still, no matter what, will have an effect on something. But you have to take a version that, has no correlation to anything current.
Right. So this Wolverine, our drunken bum friend Wolverine, he doesn't care about dying. Deadpool puts a gun in his face and he just points it to his head and basically is like, do it, motherfucker. Like, he doesn't care.
And then downs a bottle and passes out.
Yeah, drinks a whole bottle, just chugs it, knocks him out. Deadpool's like, well, you're the only Wolverine that hasn't beaten me up, and you're drunk, so I guess I'm going with you. You'll be my new anchor being. He brings him back to the TVA, and this is where Mr. Paradox basically explains, like, bro, that, like, an anchor being can't be replaced, and especially, like, the fact that you had the best Wolverine and the noblest Wolverine, and now you're bringing me the absolute worst one. So you even did a shitty job of finding a new one.
Yeah.
But obviously, Mr. Paradox isn't going to help this guy because he already wants him dead, and Deadpool broke his nose already earlier in the movie. So Paradox uses the prune and banishes both Deadpool and Wolverine to the void, which, again, if you've seen Loki, this movie definitely hits different for you because a lot of stuff from the Loki season 1 specifically is in this. The void is basically a realm where the TVA banish variants of the multiverse that they deem unnecessary or
too
that
dangerous.
Or too dangerous or ones that revolted against them. And it's basically like a wasteland that's imprisoned all of these multiversal variants that the TVA don't want to deal with. Loki gets banished there in season 1, but obviously finds his way out with the help of all the other variants of Lokis that were banished there.
Right.
So Deadpool and Wolverine Wolverine's pissed about he don't even understand what the hell is going on.
Yeah, he doesn't even know where he is, how
he doesn't know where he is, who Deadpool is, what's going on. They duke it out. They have a pretty nice battle against each other. And they fight until Wade reveals...
the Fox logo.
In front of the 20th Century Fox logo. I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot to mention that, which was sick. And they basically fight until Wade reveals that, hey, if we team up together, we can basically save our timelines. So let's just stop fighting. That's not the only thing that stops them from fighting, though, because they're interrupted by a gang, a Mad Max style gang of these like wastelanders. One of them is a character named Pyro. I don't know much about Pyro. Do you?
No.
So I don't really know much about him, but Pyro and his gang show up with Sabretooth, Wolverine's brother from X-Men Origins, and Deadpool looks up while they're coming, and he sees a figure, a hooded figure, and he recognizes this figure as Captain America, who Deadpool is very fond of for some reason. He loves Captain America. And Mark, what happened with Mr. Cap?
It was not Captain America.
No, it wasn't, because as Deadpool gets close, very close to Cap, Chris Evans in particular, we find out this isn't a variant of Captain America. This is the Human Torch from the Fox Fantastic Four films. I'm assuming it's the same one.
Yeah.
Which, if you guys didn't know, Chris Evans played the Human Torch in those movies. This was a nod to that. So it was awesome seeing this.
Well, and during that, he's like, oh, he's going to say it. He's going to say Avengers. And he's like, oh.
Flame on.
What the fuck is that?
And Deadpool immediately is like, oh, okay. Fuck this guy. So we get the Human Torch. This is the first time we've seen him in the MCU as well. The character in general. Because the reboot of Fantastic Four doesn't come out till next year. So I think it's next year anyways. So obviously I was saying Sabretooth, the same actor that played him in Origins, is in here. This part was also disappointing though, because Wolverine just kills Sabretooth in like
there was
2 seconds.
No big fight.
Like with how much they hyped that up in the trailer, I was expecting there to be a fight and he just kills him in literally 2 seconds. I was not. That and the Vanessa thing were the only things in this movie that I didn't like. Everything else was great.
Yeah.
But those two things I was like, oh.
Yeah, it was anticlimactic. It kind of...
Very. Done. And with how much they showed it in the trailer, they made it seem like...
They made it seem like a focal point.
Did you hear... I just want to bring this up really quick because it just came to mind. Did you hear Ryan Reynolds? I think he was on the Wing Show. What's that show called?
Hot Ones.
Where they eat the hot wings? Hot Ones. And he was saying that while he was eating, that they were going to originally release Deadpool Wolverine as like a buddy cop movie. They were going to make a buddy cop movie, like a fake movie. And it was going to just look terrible. It was supposed to be about two cops sharing the same brain and coming together or something.
What the fuck?
And
I mean,
they were going to like advertise this movie as being like a real thing. And then when people would go to the theater expecting to see this movie, it would be Deadpool Wolverine.
That's a very Deadpool thing to do, but I also feel like you run into the issue where, you're not going to get the numbers you want.
And what if people are really interested in that cop movie and then they're disappointed?
Yeah, and then they're like, oh,
Wolverine.
The fuck is this?
I didn't come from Marvel. I just thought that was just wacky. Like that's an idea that's when it sounds cool on paper, but in execution, they probably would have been horrible.
Yeah. Or it's something like you shouldn't say that you're going to do it and just kind of save that as something in your back pocket.
Yeah. To do later, maybe for like a Deadpool 4, if we ever get one. Which I'd assume we will, because the Deadpool movies just continue to break records left and right.
I mean, I think you'd be dumb not to.
So this is where they find a new character that I saw in the trailer, And when I saw her in the trailer, she's pretty much like, besides Mr. Paradox, the main antagonist of the film. Where when I saw her in the trailer, I kind of already had the idea that she was going to be a variant of Charles Xavier. I just wasn't exactly sure how it was going to work. And then we end up finding out she isn't a variant of Charles Xavier. She's actually his twin.
Did you know he had a twin?
I never heard of this before.
Okay, so I'm in the same boat. I had no idea.
So I don't know if that's in I'm sure it is in comics somewhere, but
yeah,
I'd never heard of this. Her name's Cassandra Nova, and she was a fucking cool character.
Yeah, it explains. I understand why they threw her in the void.
Oh yeah, she's one of the most powerful characters we've ever seen. So basically, she has this ability where she can get in your head by sticking her fingers into your mind. Like, basically, as Deadpool eloquently puts it, skull fucking you.
Yeah, with her hands.
With her hands. So we find out that Cassandra, being this twin variant of Charles Xavier, she was banished to the void after being born because the TVA was afraid of her. They were afraid of how powerful she was and the threat that she could become to the multiverse. So they sent her to the void, or the Badlands, I think they were calling this section of the void, where she's under the TVA's protection. Like, she's basically like the mafia to the government, where she's kind of like running things and doing dirty work on like the DL, you know?
Yeah, like they'll send them people they don't want, and it's kind of up to her to either make them a slave or let them die.
She's basically in line and in charge of all these variants that nobody, the TVA doesn't want to deal with. She can do whatever she wants as long as she stays in the void.
There.
One character that was awesome, though, what'd you think of that red Nightcrawler?
Not gonna lie, I thought it was a completely different character. But now that you mentioned that it's a red Nightcrawler, I thought it was a very cool variant then.
I don't know who that character... I think I've seen that character before in something. I don't even know if it is Nightcrawler. I know he has similar powers. He's more like fire, though. But
yeah,
I thought
and he can kind of transport.
Sick, though.
Yeah. Too bad they're in the void, but...
Yeah, you might see him later in something else.
Yeah. But yeah, it was hard to pick out who was who.
Yeah,
it definitely
was.
The notable characters you could tell, but like some of them, it's like, okay, obviously there's somebody, but I don't know what version or who they are.
Yeah, there was definitely some oddities there. So basically, she uses her hand skull fucking technique to get inside of Deadpool's head. And even before that, Deadpool's making like funny jokes about how awful of a person the Human Torch was saying that she was.
Yeah.
And he basically gets this man turned into a sack of organs.
Yeah, he gets him killed. So we thought.
I love how Chris Evans is basically just up for anything. Like that he like not a lot of actors would go out of their way to make fun of a role that they once
had, yeah.
Like, even though Human Torch and those Fantastic Four movies are not held in high esteem, I don't think, it's still, it's just funny to see that. I like that he was a good sport about it. But Deadpool basically lies and says, that, hey, this guy was telling me that you were just the absolute biggest bitch on the block. And yeah, she just, with a flick of her wrist, turns this man into a pile of tubes and, a stomach and heart and just organs just laying there.
Yeah.
Then she skull fucks Deadpool and kind of manipulates his mind into trying to make him think that Vanessa thinks that he's absolutely worthless. So that was a cool scene. I just liked the whole like visual of her fingers sticking outside of the eyes and like the nose.
Well, yeah,
and
stuff. It wasn't just like how Xavier would go into your head and like he's in your head. Like she has a physical aspect that she has to do that is gruesome to do it.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was a very visually pleasing in a sense because it was just cool to see. The other thing that was cool about Cassandra was that she has always wanted a Wolverine.
Yeah, she's never gotten a Wolverine in her
I guess Wolverine is a hard one to find out there in the void. I guess the TVA can't catch him, or he's just not worth purging.
Yeah, he's not someone they want to get rid of. He's not. There's no version of him that they want to despair.
Except for our drunken bum friend, Wolverine. So she's really happy about the prospect and the idea of getting this Wolverine. He obviously isn't. He tries to stab her and just gets thrown away like he's nothing. She beats the hell out of him in Deadpool. And then basically has them for food for, how do you say the name? Aloth? Not sure how you pronounce it. But again, if you watch Loki season 1, you would know what Aloth is. This giant, misty, cloudy beast that roams the void looking to feast on different variants. So she's going to feed them to Aloth. Now, here's something. This is the only part of the movie I can't remember. How did they escape?
So they jumped on, I don't know what it was a leg of. I'm sure it was an Easter egg of some kind, but they jumped on a leg from some robot and it just basically shot them into the air and they flew away.
Okay, because when I was like rethinking through this whole movie and like kind of writing our outline, that was the only part that I could not remember how they got away.
Yeah,
they from this thing.
I'm sure it was some kind of Easter egg as to whose leg it was, but I couldn't really tell.
Yeah, if you know, please leave a comment or hit us up on X at FireTruthCast and tell us. So this leads Deadpool and Wolverine to basically be traveling through the countryside of the void. The Borderlands, I think they were calling it. Until they meet everybody's favorite, the fan favorite of this film, Dogpool. How did you like Dogpool? And especially, how did you like the Zen-like variant, Nice Pool?
So Dogpool, I loved it. You know, in any other circumstance, someone calling a dog the names that Deadpool called it would be frowned upon. But it was out of love, which made it funny and endearing because the names fit the dog. They took the ugliest dog they could get and made it Dogpool. Now, for the Nice Pool variant, I don't know how or why that would even exist.
I don't know, but it was hilarious just to see. Yeah. Like, he has a regular face. He has this.
He's like, "Where's your mask?" He's like, "Come
hair. On." Yeah, he's like, "Come on." Why
would I cover this?
That was like sickening. I loved it. Deadpool was just so jealous. He hated him. Absolutely hated him and wanted to steal Dogpool from him. But hey, he shouldn't have been letting his dog run off like that. It happened twice.
But he was so nice about it. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry."
But like, dude, take care of your dog. Deadpool wanted that dog. Instead, he got a Honda Odyssey.
That was so random. They definitely, they probably like went out to every single car dealership and like, "Hey, do you want to be sponsored and be in this movie?" And they're like, "No, fuck you." And Honda was like, "Yeah, sure. Take an Odyssey."
It's just funny though, because like, I don't know about you, but a couple years back, especially, I knew so many like soccer moms that drove that car.
Yeah.
Like that was a car that almost any time I was driving, I would see one on the road. And it was that specific one too, the like silverish one. So it was hilarious to see that in the movie because I could almost relate to that. Like, wow, okay, I know this car exactly.
Yeah, I've seen this car.
So Nice Pool gives up his Honda Odyssey for Deadpool and Wolverine to travel through the Borderlands in. As they drive, this is kind of where we get to, I guess, the climax of the movie, where
I'd say you're at like the halfway point, like where it starts to pick up.
We kind of discover, or Wolverine at least discovers, that Deadpool isn't exactly sure that they can save their timelines. He calls it an educated wish. Obviously, this pisses Wolverine off. Like, he's like, I've been on this whole thing with you just to find out you don't even know if we can actually do this.
If my timeline is even fixable.
How did you like Wolverine actually being the first person to ever make Deadpool shut up? Like, he went.
I thought it was fitting. Yeah, I thought it was fitting. Like his only response was like, "I'm gonna kill you now."
Like that was the first time Deadpool was actually left speechless.
And I do like the fact that their whole fight stayed inside the car.
And it just destroyed the entire car.
Yeah.
And then
And it was
like
just
after they were done,
blood
they were just,
everywhere.
Deadpool was just wrapped up in a seatbelt.
Yeah.
That was hilarious. I love that scene. That scene was just so funny, seeing them just have this bloody battle, like for like an entire day, just fighting each other.
Never left the car. Like if they got out of the car, they got pulled back in.
Wasn't the entire like top of the car just sawed off by the end of it? So then this is kind of where a very mysterious thing happens. Probably this is the most intriguing part of the movie, probably, because while Deadpool and Wolverine are just, laying bloody, regenerating, sleeping after fighting for hours, someone gets in the car and drives off with them. We find out that it is a group called the Others. And the Others, or Deadpool at least calls them, Deadpool and Wolverine wake up in this like unknown location, and they discover that the Others is a group of Fox characters from various Fox films, besides for Gambit. Gambit was in Origins, but not this Gambit. Yeah. These are characters we've seen before, and this is kind of where we were talking about. This is like a love letter to the Fox verse or the 2000s superhero films, because we see Elektra, Jennifer Garner from the old Ben Affleck Daredevil movie. She's back. We see Blade, Wesley Snipes was actually in this movie. We called that. Mm-hmm. That was cool to see. We see Gambit, but an actually like comic cartoon accurate Gambit as Channing Tatum. That was the biggest reveal.
Completely understandable.
And I couldn't believe how good he did the accent.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that. Like at first when I saw him, I was like, okay,
he's going to just talk normal.
I was like, the suit's cool, but he's not going to have the voice. Like I had no idea he was going to do the voice. And when he started doing it, I was like, holy shit. This is like X-Men 97 Gambit right here.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That threw me for a loop because I really did not think he was going to have the accent. And then their leader, we discover, which we already knew she was in the film, but
yeah,
X-23, Daphne Keane, who is having like the year of years right now, been in two of Disney's biggest projects this year as Jackie in The Acolyte, and now returning as X-23 from Logan into this movie. So these Others, what were you saying?
I was going to say, like, with the characters that we have that are in the Others, like Blade, Elektra, Gambit he was in Origins, but like they're all characters that are known, but they all were in superhero movies before they became popular.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, we're going to get into it, but I like how it's almost like they're asking for like that send off that they didn't get.
Pretty much. I mean, that's like I said, this movie in a sense is the endgame of the Fox universe. That's kind of how I felt about it. Like this was a wrap up. Like if you were a kid like we were growing up in the 2000s, this hit different for you. This was like a nostalgia trip because these were like all characters that we grew up seeing or had seen previously, like Blade.
And we thought those movies were like the peak of superhero movies until we get to where we are.
Till we got to Iron Man in 2008. That changed everything. But before that, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine was our guy.
Yeah.
Blade was cool. Everybody always wanted to see Channing Tatum as Gambit. I mean, Elektra, maybe not so much cool because no one really liked that Daredevil movie. But
but
we like Jennifer Garner. It was cool to see her again. And then, of course, X-23. I mean, I love that character. So it was cool to see her back, but like older. But she still had like the sunglasses and like it was cool to see all that.
Well, because she probably got sent there as a kid.
Yeah, and we don't know why she got... Do we even know if she's the exact same one from Logan? I'm guessing she was.
don't know. I mean, she told the story
Yeah.
how like the Logan or the Wolverine that we have in this is very similar to the one she had, but I don't know if it's the exact one.
Yeah, and that's kind of like getting into our falling action here because the variants, the others, try and convince Deadpool and Wolverine like if we band together, we can attack Cassandra and her gang at the hideout. We can steal. Now that gang had a Juggernaut, their own like smaller version of Juggernaut. They figured we could steal Juggernaut's helmet, put it over Cassandra's head, because just like Xavier, if something's covering the head, they can't use their powers. And Deadpool's up for it, but Wolverine has basically lost all hope and is like, I don't give a shit.
He's like, I found booze here.
Yeah.
I don't care.
He's stealing Gambit's booze. I love too the CGI and the animation of like Gambit's cards. That was sick.
Mhm.
Like they did such a good job with Gambit. It's kind of a shame that Channing Tatum is probably only going to play Gambit in this movie.
Yeah, like that's the only version of Channing Tatum we'll get. It'll be someone else.
I was blown away how good of a job he did looks wise and just his acting wise. I didn't know he had it in him. So X-23 basically,
He should have
she's
said,
not
"My
gonna
name
take
is
no.
Jeff."
What happened?
He should have said, "My name is Jeff" at some point.
So X-23, she is not going to take no for an answer from Wolverine. She knows how important Wolverine is and how strong he is. So while Logan is kind of sitting there at this like campfire sulking in his woes that he can't save his universe and he's stuck in this void, she comes to him, talks to him, basically telling him about her experience with her Wolverine. And he basically tells her like, listen, I'm not the guy that you think I am. And she says, you were never the right guy. Like, that's the whole point. Wolverine, if you watch Logan, you know that the last thing he wanted to do was protect this girl and take her where he had to. Like, he didn't have a lot of respect for himself, even in that movie. So this Wolverine and that Wolverine are in very similar places. All their friends are dead. Now, I didn't exactly catch this. Did Wolverine, I forgot how his origin was. Did he abandon the X-Men and then they were killed, or did he go berserk and kill them?
I think he brings mention to the fact that he like went off on his own, and then by the time he got back, they were all dead.
Okay, because I couldn't remember. I don't think they really did an amazing job at telling that part. But
I don't think we're meant to know. I think it's, you know, it's one of those things where like it can be implied either way, either like
right.
he came back and they were all dead, or he did go insane and killed all of them. And that's maybe why the guy at the bar basically didn't want him there, because he's like, you ruined everything.
Right. Yeah, I need to go see the movie again.
Yeah, this is definitely a movie that I'm going to have to watch again.
And I want to. Like, it's very rare that I want to go to a theater twice, but for something like this, yeah, I will, for sure.
Because like now I know this main outline of the story. Now I can pay attention to those smaller little details that like you kind of go too quick for you to get.
Right. Yeah, this is definitely a movie you need to watch like 2 or 3 times to really get everything, like absorb all of the information and cameos and everything in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I couldn't figure out if it was that he went berserk or if he just abandoned them when they needed him most. I think it was a little of both in a sense, but either way, he tells her, I'm not the right guy. I'm not the guy you're looking for. She says, you were never the right guy. And that hits, you know, that tugs at Logan's heart. It makes him realize, like, you know, just because I failed once doesn't mean I always have to be a failure, which is a good message, I think, for everybody.
Yeah. Like, I have a chance to redeem myself. It may not be redeeming the issues I caused, but I have a chance to save and help this scenario.
Like, I think something, especially in the modern day with like depression and suicide and things up at like record highs, I think something that this movie does well and that people need to kind of remember is like no matter what happens in your past, every day is a new day. Every day
Yeah.
is a new start. And once you start looking at it like that, you can really change your perspective on the world. And I liked how this story told that through Wolverine, how every day he woke up for who knows how many years, he was a failure to everybody around him.
And he continued to be a failure, and now he has that chance to redeem that.
But he finally realized every day is a new day after what X-23 told to him. And he decided that next morning when he woke up, he was going to hide in the trunk and he was going to help them beat Cassandra's ass.
And I have a feeling it was one of those things, like, he went and hid in the trunk, like, that moment and just waited all night until they got there.
Probably, because they didn't think he was there.
Yeah, I think it was like, he's like, if I don't get in there now, I'm not going.
So Deadpool, Wolverine, they get to the Ant-Man husk, and I like too while they're driving how one thing I love too really quick was how Deadpool was making fun of Gambit's accent and how hard it is to understand what the hell he's saying half the time.
I still don't know what he said 90% of his lines.
That's what makes him amazing, though. So Deadpool's making fun of him. Blade, of course, whips out this freaking RPG rocket launcher, blows the doors off into, which is Ant-Man's hands.
As he's doing that, something is said and Blade goes, "There's only one Blade." And Deadpool looks at the camera, doesn't wink, but kind of looks at the camera and nods.
He says, "There's only one Blade. There'll only ever be one Blade." But we know there's a new Blade movie coming out with a new actor.
Right, but is it one of those things? Is he implying that like this Blade is done, or will we see this Blade again?
No, I think this Blade's done.
I think you think it's intending that like, hey, yeah, you know, you're one and done after this. Like, there's a new Blade already.
I think that was his line to kind of say like, listen, like, I'm Blade. I know there's gonna be a new Blade, but I'm Blade, and y'all remember that.
Yeah.
So, which I hear the new Blade is having like the second director just like walked out. So I don't know when we're gonna see that movie.
Just put Wesley Snipes back. It's fine.
Wesley Snipes look old in this movie. I didn't realize how old that dude is.
Yeah. Well, and did you know that, like, because in the original Blade movies, Ryan Reynolds is in it?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's in one of the, I think he's in the first one or the second one. And there was this whole thing that, like, they hated each other.
Really?
And I saw in a recent interview that Blade was asked about, like, doing the movie, and he's like, yeah, he's like, I got the call from Ryan. He's like, also, I want to make it known, like, we don't hate each other. Like, we just decided, like, we're going to keep it going. But he's like, when I got the call, he's like, yeah, I'll do it, but there's no fucking way you're getting that done with Disney. Like, it ain't gonna happen. So if it does happen, I'll do it, but in the meantime, I don't think it's gonna.
I'm surprised that he was in it. I really am. Because I know he was in a lot of like legal trouble and stuff not too long ago.
But I think that's long gone now.
Yeah. But it was cool. It was cool to see Blade. I liked how he blew the Ant-Man's hands, which is the door, off. And then Deadpool and Wolverine basically run up the base to go confront Cassandra while the others are fighting her, like the Red Nightcrawler and Juggernaut and stuff, trying to get Juggernaut's helmet.
I think Deadpool and Wolverine at this point are basically just trying to distract her and buy time until they can get the helmet. Yeah,
basically. That's all they're trying to do. So they're up there talking to her. She's obviously throwing them around like they're nothing because she's just overpowered completely.
Yeah, I think Deadpool was done in the fight in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, like he was thrown out. And then Cassandra digs deep into Wolverine's mind, trying to manipulate him, not realizing that he's actually just biding his time and tricking her into thinking that she's manipulating him, which was cool because it actually shows how mentally strong that Wolverine is.
Yeah.
He tricked her and she didn't realize it.
Like he picked the perfect Wolverine for what they needed to do.
Right. X-23, our girl, she grabs the Juggernaut's helmet, throws it up. Deadpool catches it, puts it on top of Cassandra, and then her powers are eliminated. And while Cassandra is depowered from Juggernaut's helmet, her little lackey Pyro comes on the scene and shoots her while she's talking to Wolverine, and Wolverine's trying to negotiate with Deadpool about letting her go. You know, like Wolverine's kind of saying that, like, if he's telling her, like, if Charles knew you were alive, he would let you go. Like he would. What does he say? He would have went through hell or something to find you.
Yeah,
along those lines. So she tries to appeal to Cassandra's compassion. Deadpool's like, "Are you fucking nuts? I'm not letting her go. She's gonna kill us." But then all of a sudden, her buddy Pyro shows up and shoots her while she's depowered. And this is when we find out that Pyro is actually working for Paradox as a sleeper agent and has been trying to kill her this entire time. He just found the opportunity to try. But this is when Deadpool, he's like, okay, he lets her go. Because she doesn't have the helmet on, I guess she has some kind of regenerative power too, of some kind. She's fine. She basically destroys Pyro and then gives... and then Wolverine punches Pyro out too. Before that, she uses a ring, and this has the time and reality stones in it.
Yeah.
Right? So she has possession of some Infinity Stones from another universe of some kind, because she has a ring from a variant of Doctor Strange that she killed. And she uses it to help Deadpool and Wolverine teleport back to the Foxverse. So they go back. Aloth is coming towards them. They jump into the portal at the last second. We don't know what happened to the others exactly.
No, other than Deadpool asks if they can be put back where they're supposed to be.
So I'm going to assume they lived somehow.
Yeah, or they just, did some time travel and pulled them out right before that happened, and we're like, all right, you're going home, you're going home, you're going home.
Could be, because who's to say the Void doesn't have some kind of time too? Who knows? But that was a cool scene. I really liked the whole thing. I liked how Wolverine appealed to Cassandra and kind of pulled at her heartstrings by talking about Charles and how he would have done anything to save her if he knew.
Only temporarily, though.
Yeah, only temporarily, because as they arrive, while that's happening, Cassandra's talking to Pyro. Pyro kind of gives the speech of how he's, working with Paradox, and he has this time wrecking machine. I'm pretty sure she kills Pyro after that, right?
After she finds out what's going on, I think she killed him, yeah.
She kills him. And while Deadpool and Wolverine are chilling in the Foxverse, happy to be back, she gets there and basically uses her skull fucking move to grab Paradox, use his mind to know how to use this time splitter, because she's upset that he broke their deal. She was fine living in the Void. She was fine ruling it. But once he betrayed that trust, now she's going to come and she's going to be the ruler of all the timelines.
Yeah, she's going to take all of them out.
Like, she doesn't care. She just wants to destroy everything because now she's been turned on. So she wants to become a god. She goes off to use the time splitter. Deadpool and Wolverine go to stop her, but this is when we get a lot of cameos from the Deadpool corps. How did you like them, Mark?
Oh, I thought it was fun. That's also one of those scenes, like, I'd have to go back probably when I can watch it at home and pause at different times so I can see who was there. Because, like, you see mostly everybody, but it's hard to tell, like, what version is what with a lot of them. Because I guess there was a Canada...
They kind of teased the Deadpool corps earlier in the film, too.
Yeah.
I think Nicepool tells them about them.
Yeah, he tells them that they're not nice. They're not nice.
And
they're
poor
not like
Nicepool, man. That guy gets fucked up.
Yeah. Like, I think there was a Canada version of Deadpool, but he was, like, covered in, like, dirt. It's like you couldn't tell it was Canada. But then we got Headpool. I don't really know a lot about the variants of Deadpool. I don't know what
there was
Headpool
Baby
is.
Pool.
There was Baby Pool.
Kid Pool, who apparently has the worst mouth of them all.
Yeah. There was Lady Pool.
Katie Poole, who I thought was Taylor Swift until I found out it was Ryan Reynolds' wife.
Yeah, it was Blake Lively. I think the character that they're going to have to be Taylor Swift, they decided just didn't fit this movie.
Yeah, probably.
Which I agree.
They might use it later.
Yeah. Who else do we get? We got
there was a Japanese Deadpool.
There was a Japanese warrior Deadpool. There was
Cowboy Deadpool. All sorts of, just all sorts of different wacky Deadpool.
But
there was deformed Deadpool.
Yeah, but most importantly, there was Dogpool.
Dogpool comes back after Deadpool uses Nice Pool's corpse, basically,
to get to the other side. Because for some reason he thought a taco stand had medical supplies.
But Wolverine just picks up Dogpool and all the Deadpools stop shooting. He just casually walks over there.
Hold on.
Protect Dogpool at all costs. Dogpool is about to have that Baby Yoda appeal.
Yep.
So they basically fight through this Deadpool corpse, which is working for Cassandra. They fight, basically brutally destroy them all.
Yeah.
But then they find out, these are all variants of Deadpool, so they all just come back together or regenerate somehow.
Yeah, after they hop out the bus and it's Baby Pool, and he's like, "What the fuck are you laughing at? I don't know what he said exactly, but basically cussed out an infant baby version of himself.
Yeah.
To turn around and realize that they all are coming back to life.
Exactly. But this is when the biggest hero of the film arrives. Mark, can you explain what happens here?
So there's a different variant of Deadpool that rides in on a bike and tells everyone, this Deadpool's with me. And then Kidpool is like, that's fucking Peter. Then we learn that every version of Deadpool has their own Peter, and Peter is sacred. So they're like, oh, he's with Peter. He's fine. Go do your thing.
Yeah, they all get distracted so much by their love of Peter that Deadpool and Wolverine are just able to just sneak off, basically, from the battle and go after Cassandra. Because Peter is just that awesome. So they go off, and they get to where, the time splitter is. This is basically the ending of the film, where Paradox is left, and he's telling Deadpool and Wolverine, listen, there's this, reactor part where you need to, stop her before she destroys all the timelines. But there's this, reactor, but if one of you goes in there, you're gonna die. Absorbing that much energy, you're gonna die, no matter whether you regenerate or not. This is where, Wolverine... Oh, actually, one thing we forgot to talk about was Wolverine's cowl. He finally put on the cowl.
He finally put on the cowl.
He cowl.
He asked him, are you saving that for money scenes? And he's like, I think he said something about, mostly killing or something.
And it looked good.
Yeah.
It looked I was really impressed. I didn't think he was going to wear the cowl. I thought they were going to save that for when they rebooted the X-Men.
Yeah.
But I was happy to see Hugh in the cowl. He really did look like a Batman, kind of. It was funny how Deadpool made that joke.
Mm-hmm.
But no, the cowl looked awesome. Anyways, this is where our bum drunken Wolverine, this is his moment to become a hero. He basically says, listen, everybody I love is dead. I have nothing left to really live for, but I want to do something with my life before I go. I will go in there. I will sacrifice my life to destroy this time splitter. Because Deadpool, you have 9 people to go home to. I have nobody. But before he goes in there, what does Deadpool do, Mark?
He basically locks him out.
Locks him out because this whole film, it ties back to the very beginning where Deadpool wants to prove he's worthy. He is worthy of being an Avenger. He's not worthless. And in a sense, this is Deadpool's time to be a real hero.
Yeah. And if he survives, this is his way into the Avengers.
Yeah. And maybe even his way to get Vanessa back. So he goes in there. Wolverine's pissed. He's trying to break down the door. Deadpool goes in there. He grabs the one reactor. There's another one he needs to grab, but he can't quite make it there. Cassandra's in the process of destroying the timeline.
And I think she got it down to 1.
Yeah. Yeah, she was doing some work, almost wiped everything from existence, but Wolverine bashes down that door, grabs the other energy core. They basically put their hands together. They're both holding the energy and absorbing it, and together they absorb and destroy the time splitter. And had a really funny scene doing it where Wolverine's shirt, like his outfit, just shreds off. And dude, for 60 years old, has like the most incredible 6-pack ever.
Might be a little bit of CGI. I don't know.
Probably, because they do kind of make jokes that he's wearing the outfit because he's a little pudgy these days. But either way, that was why even Deadpool was looking at him like, damn, that looks pretty good. And they do some jokes like with the older women.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my God, whoa, look at Wolverine. But basically, the movie makes you think Deadpool and Wolverine both died. But they didn't. Because they did it together, they basically didn't do shit to him. They were cool. Like Wolverine smoking, Deadpool was like, yeah, that was fun. Paradox is like freaking out. He don't know what just happened.
Well, because before they walk out, he was explaining that, like, oh, they're dead. Like, I saved the day. I fixed my
he was
mistake.
Trying to say they were working for him. Because I found out her name. I didn't know what her name was. I guess it's Hunter B-15, the lady from Loki, who's I guess become a higher member of the TVA now instead of just like a soldier. I can't remember if that happened in season 2 or not.
I believe it happens in season 2.
But she comes, arrests Paradox basically because she knows he's lying. And I guess they know he's been up to no good anyways. She also falls in love with Peter.
Yeah. Which means we're going to get more Peter. We're going to get more Peter, and maybe not Peter in just a Deadpool movie.
Yeah, maybe Peter will become a significant member of the TVA.
Yeah. Like, hey, every version of Deadpool has a Peter. Why don't you be the one in charge of all of the Peters?
All the Peters. That type 1 and 2 diabetes really got him far in life. So, Peter B-15 kind of have a little thing. Paradox gets arrested. Deadpool and Wolverine are kind of chilling. And this is when B-15 informs Deadpool that, hey, this is odd. Basically because this Wolverine actually did something heroic and deemed himself worthy in this universe, he's kind of become your anchor being.
So now he's
kind of replaced, which Paradox said could not happen, yet here it is.
Yeah.
This Wolverine proved himself, survived, and so he deemed himself worthy and the Foxverse worthy of sticking around. Now the universe isn't being wiped out, and we have a new Wolverine in the Foxverse to live with Deadpool and his friends, and we see them together getting schwammy. And then at their continuing the birthday party, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if it was continuing the birthday party, because like the way I viewed that scene is like Wolverine's like, all right, like I'm staying here, but I don't want to be fucking by you. Yeah, so he leaves, and then Deadpool, I think, tells him like, hey, I have all of these great friends. Like, you have nowhere to go. You can live with me and Blind Owl.
Blind Owl.
So then they go back to the party, which then you see that X-23 is also with Wolverine there.
Yeah, X-23 is there too. You're right.
So I guess.
So they did save him.
Yeah, I guess that confirms that X-23 and Wolverine are staying in Deadpool's timeline.
Yeah. And then Elektra and, well, Gambit makes actually he says that he was actually born in the void. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. I don't know where he gets sent, but we at least know Elektra and Blade get sent back to whatever universe they came from.
Right. And then...
yeah, now X-23 and Wolverine are with Deadpool and Colossus and the gang.
Well, yeah, then from there, it pretty much goes to the credits, right?
Pretty much ends with Wade and Vanessa kind of making up somewhat. But
oh, yeah, that's right. They're rekindling.
I just didn't give a shit about that, honestly.
No.
I wish they wouldn't have done that at all, like I said
They shouldn't have been broken up to begin with.
Yeah, it was just weird. It felt so out of place. But either way, That's the end of the movie, and then we get to the post-credit scene. Did you stick around for that?
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to figure out what that scene meant. Did that scene mean that Deadpool wasn't lying the entire time? That is what the Human Torch said? Or did he manipulate things in the TVA to make it so that's what he said about Cassandra?
No, because I think it was, they started to have their conversation and then it jumped to a different part of the movie. And then it came back to them. So I think it was, those were said.
He really
and then
did
he's
say
like,
those things.
Yeah, he's like, well, I have this camera here. I'm going to go back and retcon myself because I didn't do it to him. He said all of these things. I was just repeating it.
That was hilarious. A little disappointed we didn't get any teases for the future of Deadpool, but we obviously know that Deadpool and Wolverine will be in the next Avengers movies. Probably the next time we'll see them.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think we'll have to see a PG-13 version of Deadpool in those movies, but that's okay.
Yeah, you can still make that work.
Yeah, you can, because Deadpool doesn't have to be raunchy. He just has to be kind of wacky and egregious. So that was Deadpool Wolverine. Overall, how did you feel about the movie?
I thought it was great. I mean, I think my only gripe along with you is the whole Vanessa thing. I feel like it was unnecessary to the story. And then I only have one question, and I need to know, why was Thor crying and holding Deadpool?
Why was Thor crying? Why was he holding Deadpool? I'm sure we'll find out. And that'll probably be in Secret Wars. I wouldn't be surprised.
Something like that, yeah.
Secret Wars. Before we go, though, there's some final thoughts. I want to know what your thoughts were on... Obviously, we talked about Vanessa, Colossus, how they didn't really play a role in this movie.
Right.
Were you a little disappointed that Al and Dopinder didn't really play a role in this movie either?
Yes and no. I get it. They're still part of the movie. They're still there. But their characters weren't really needed. You're not going to send them to the void to go along for the mission. I feel like that'd just be too much. Dopinder was really only in it during the party scenes. I feel like Blind Al was in it. We just didn't talk about her as much. She had a few different spots where she kind of popped up.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with them not being in it because he basically left them to go on a not selfless journey, but on a find yourself journey.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, I can understand not putting them in there because it's not about them. It's about Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
Now, they can always come back for Deadpool 4.
Exactly.
So I hope there is a Deadpool 4. I'm sure there will be. I don't know if there'll be a Deadpool and Wolverine 4, or 2, but I would like to see just the Deadpool 4 with all those characters back and something else going on.
Yeah.
Maybe he finally has his kid with Vanessa.
Yeah, or maybe they just adopt Deadpool or something. Yeah.
So, yeah, like I said, I love the film. I thought that Deadpool and Wolverine, like I said, it's kind of like the endgame of the 2000 superhero films. So,
yeah,
if you saw those, you're going to love the nostalgia that this movie brings you. It's a complete homage to the Foxverse. Even the credits, it was cool to see all the behind the scenes footage of Hugh Jackman doing those movies.
And I guess learning his role as Wolverine, because he essentially became Wolverine. He didn't know what he was getting into.
Yeah. And I mean, he's been the only Wolverine. And Kevin Feige said he will be the only one going forward for a little bit.
Well, according to Deadpool, he's stuck till he's 90.
Yeah, but I don't think Wolverine will go past Secret Wars, or Hugh Jackman at least. I think he's probably going to die in that. I've heard rumors that Hugh Jackman and Tobey Maguire are going to be huge parts of Secret Wars. It may even be their last films.
Yeah, that might be how they get their send-off. All right, they're part of our universe, but this is their send-off.
Yeah, this is how we write them off, too. So I have a few questions left to talk about here. One thing I want to know, because I saw the question pop up on the internet, does the sacred timeline have an anchor being? And if it does, it's not Iron Man. Who is it?
Or is it?
Well, Iron Man is dead. So it can't be him.
Yes,
Can't
Iron
be
Man is
Captain
dead.
America because he's gone.
But with the announcement of it being Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom,
Yeah, but
I don't know.
We'll get into that in a second. I don't know. I feel like the anchor being is going to be like Happy Hogan or some shit.
Maybe, yeah.
I could see it being something crazy like that. Unless the Sacred Timeline doesn't have an anchor being. Because the Sacred Timeline is the original timeline, and everything else is just the branches off that Loki created, right?
Yes.
From my understanding, yeah. I think it's because of Loki that all these other universes are existing. Because before in Loki season 1, wasn't it the Sacred Timeline? And then when a branch off showed up, TVA came and destroyed it.
Yeah, they wiped it out.
Now there's multiple universes. So it is because of Loki from the end of season 2 that Deadpool and them even exist.
Yeah. But no, that could be an interesting, it could be Happy.
It's going to be someone like really, it's going to be like Groot. Like,
yeah.
Someone completely random. If there is one. Maybe there isn't one, but I just wanted to know because there's been some discussion about that. I just wanted to know if you thought there is one or if there isn't one.
I think they're gonna, to continue the story of there being an anchor, they're gonna come out with one. But as to who it would be, I don't know.
Now, another question I have, I think you may have answered it earlier, but let's just do it again anyways. Was this your favorite Deadpool film of the 3?
Yes. And I will be completely honest. It's because of the nostalgia. It's because of the adding of Hugh Jackman and Wolverine. And I like the multiverse stuff, even though they're kind of flopping with it. I enjoy it. So for that aspect, like, it's definitely my favorite Deadpool movie. And I got to see different versions of Deadpool, so that's always a plus.
And Wolverine.
Yeah.
I like the multiverse stuff. I think they have gone maybe a little too far with it, but I like how they've incorporated the old 2000s nostalgia into the MCU. But yeah, I mean, I would say this is probably like if you were gonna put on any of the 3, I would want to watch this one.
Yeah, I'd throw it on
the other ones. But obviously, like, story-wise, I would say the first one is the best, but I don't really think anybody's watching Deadpool for the story exactly. No. If you're watching it just for pure fun and entertainment, you watch Deadpool and Wolverine. So I think this is now my favorite one, too.
Yeah.
I'll be watching this movie. I'll watch this movie like 100 times before I die, probably.
And I'll still find things I didn't see.
Right. I'm probably going to go see it again this weekend with my dad. You know what's something I needed to talk about? I forgot to talk about it in the intro. When I went and saw this movie, I had a little issue. And that issue was when I was watching it, there was a guy who was sitting a few seats down from me. And dude straight fell asleep. What a fucking idiot, this guy. How do you fall asleep during Deadpool and Wolverine?
The only thing I can think of is, like, he brought his, like, teenage kids and had no interest in it. Oh,
by himself.
I don't know.
It was just him. He was, like, probably a little younger than us. He must have been up all night gaming or something and just felt that, like, it was annoying because he was snoring.
Yeah, that's not fun.
I literally had to cover, like, my left ear at a certain point in the movie just so I couldn't hear him snoring and I could just focus on the movie. It was so annoying. I'm like, God, what am I sitting here with my dad watching a movie, falling asleep and snoring? So sorry, Dad. Anyways, another thing I wanted to talk about with you is, do you have any predictions as to what role Deadpool and Wolverine might play in the Avengers movies? Or what would you like to see?
I don't know what I would like to see. I don't know where you go, but the only thing I can think of is, like, they're part of the new revamp of the Avengers to be, like, focal point characters because they're losing the battle with being relevant. So I can see them using them as, like, 2 of the new acquisitions for the Avengers.
Yeah, I mean, we'll finally get to see Deadpool being accepted by Happy into the Avengers.
Yeah.
And obviously, it would be awesome to see Hugh as Wolverine with the Avengers. That's like a dream scenario. Something we did forget to talk about. I was actually right. The Hulk is in this movie.
Oh yeah, he did have a very short cameo.
Yeah, we had a very short snippet. I was wondering if we'd see Wolverine versus Hulk, and we did see it, but we didn't really see them fight. They were just
they'll save that for something else.
Right. So maybe we'll potentially see that in Avengers, or I have heard that Kevin Feige is thinking about doing an Avengers versus X-Men movie. So maybe we'll see it then.
Yeah.
And this is the last thing I wanted to talk about. If you guys have paid attention to our YouTube channel, I started our new show, or my new show specifically, Fireside Chat, where I kind of just, if something big happens in nerd culture, if there's some sort of boom or just something like must talk, I'm going to talk about it. Mark will join me sometimes. Sometimes it'll just be me, but it's just a casual, short discussion show. Nothing crazy. And on that show, I gave my thoughts about what happened at SDCC, where Robert Downey Jr. came out on stage and revealed that he is going to officially be playing Doctor Doom in Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. So they're replacing the Kang Dynasty with Doomsday and just Kang in general with Doctor Doom. Now, if you want to know my main thoughts on it, you can go check out our Fireside Chat. But since we have Mark here, it's time to put him in the spotlight. Mark, what do you think about Robert Downey Jr. coming back?
I will give you my quick thoughts. I think it also goes with the Wolverine and Deadpool thing. They know that they're failing. So what's the best thing we can do? Bring back Robert Downey Jr. I think it's a ploy to do that, but there is the storyline they can do that I think would work, where he is the variant of Tony Stark that was manipulated by Doctor Doom and becomes Doctor Doom. And then you can get the whole thing where he runs into Thanos and Thanos is like, oh, I know who you are. Like I killed you already. Well, then Doctor Doom is much more powerful than Thanos is without all of the stones. It's like we could get that if they want to go that route, or it could just be a completely different thing, and that's just who they're using to cast as the character.
Yeah, maybe this Doctor Doom will never take his mask off, and Robert Downey Jr. will put on like an accent, so you can't really know it's him. But I think it's going to be a variant of Tony Stark. It has to.
Yeah, I think that's the easiest way to go.
I mean, I even talked about it in in the Fireside Chat. Like, I did see when I was researching that there are variants in comics of Doctor Doom being Tony Stark.
Yeah.
And Doctor Doom becoming Iron Man. So these characters are together. Like, they are intertwined in some way. So I think that's what we're going to see. But yeah, if you want to know more, definitely go check out our Fireside Chat, because it was a pretty good video, I thought. Other than that, you can find us at FireTruthCast on our X, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Spotify. If you are on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. It would help a lot and mean a lot. Follow us on Spotify. What do you have to say, Mark?
I was going to say, and if you find us on Instagram, give us a like and a follow and comment too. Instagram is going to be a lot more just like picture-based stuff with links. So it'd be an easy way for you to click the links and just get to our newest episode on YouTube or Spotify.
Yeah, and if you want to have discussions with us, definitely check out X, or like see more. I like to post my thoughts on there once in a while, and Mark probably will too once in a while. So definitely check that out on X. Definitely follow us on Spotify too. That would help a lot. And this is where I'm going to talk about next week. Next week's a big one, because Batman the Animated Series is getting a reboot by the exact same guy, Bruce Timm, the creator of the animated series, is doing this version. And it's going to be, I think, 10 episodes, and it's going to be on Amazon Prime. I could be wrong about the episodes. I'm not exactly sure. But it's going to be on Amazon Prime. It looks awesome. If you haven't seen the trailer, go check it out. It's basically a reimagining of the animated series. It's not a continuation, and it has no connection to the animated series. It's just like a new version. And it's basically what Bruce Timm said he would have done if the animated series wasn't on Cartoon Network. Yeah, it's interesting. It's supposed to be a more adult version of the animated series. And it's, like I said, it's what he would have done if he wasn't limited by the rules and regulations of television.
Yeah. And that'll be fun because it's going to come out all at once. So,
yeah, it's going to come out all at once. So we're going to watch it all. We're going to bring you guys an episode breaking it down and talking about it next week. There's going to be characters in it, like different characters. Like I saw there's going to be a female penguin. There's going to be a different version of Harley Quinn. Like he's trying to make it as different as possible. And it's supposed to be like a 1940s Batman.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it looks cool. I'm a huge animated series fan, so I can't wait to watch it. And yeah, we'll be back next week to talk about it. Mark, do you have any final thoughts you want to give before we wrap this up?
If you've made it this far and haven't realized there's spoilers, I'm sorry. That's your fault. Goodbye.
You're fucking up at that point, honestly. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed our deep of deepest dives. We hope that you go and see the movie, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're listening to this if you haven't gone and seen the movie. It's the biggest movie of the summer. Try and go see it whenever you can, because even I went and saw it the day of and still saw a spoiler before I went. I saw that Gambit was Channing Tatum.
Yeah, I saw spoilers still before I saw it. So
it was like I went the morning it came out and I still saw a spoiler. So if you haven't seen it yet, like, you really messed up. But don't blame us. Don't blame us if you got spoiled on the whole movie, because we warned you in the beginning. So
yeah.
We hope you enjoyed our deep dive. Definitely come back next week to check out Batman, the Caped Crusader. And definitely stick around, subscribe so you can get all of our content as fast as possible. There'll be more fireside chats to come. There'll be more Nerdcasts, of course. There'll be a new series that I want to start called Fire Reviews, which will be like shorter Nerdcasts, just reviews on movies like that we don't want to do a whole podcast on, or maybe something that I just want to go see and maybe Mark doesn't go see, or whatever, however we do it. And then we're going to be starting the gaming channel soon. So definitely I will put out a link for that for everybody to go follow and subscribe when that comes out. But other than that, this has been the FireTruth Nerdcast. We'll see you guys next time.
Peace out.